Okay, I'm going to try this one more damn time. See if it actually works. So I apologize to those of you who tried to get into the previous live stream. There were some serious technical difficulties going on there. I don't know if it was a bandwidth issue or what, but we kept losing audio. So I'm going to try this again, and because this is being recorded for posterity as a channel update, I just want to make sure that it's actually friggin' usable. So we are going to try it again. Thank you to those of you who attempted to tune in the first stream. Maybe I don't get you back. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I apologize for the issues there. I will do my best to try to keep things under control. So a lot of things going on the channel right now and with the podcast. And I thought it was just, a good idea to give a quick update, right? And try to share with you all kind of what the direction was of the channel, because there has been sort of a delay lately in production of content, and it's for a variety of issues, primarily some hardware issues that I'm having with my gaming rig, but those are being dealt with right now. I think the important thing is that work has not stopped. Work really never stops when it comes to the channel and the podcast. So I just wanted to give you an update on some of the things that I am working on and that the other guys are working on to kind of fill in some of this time. We have a number of interesting things going. So firstly, as far as the computer is concerned, I will have that back early next week, and we'll be able to begin production again on some of the content that I was doing prior to that. So there will be 2 more episodes of Mortal Blade, and then that will be followed by a write-up for the Mortal Blade character build, which is for Skyrim, and that will be released on CharacterCrusade.com and also on Tamriel Vault. So the Gameless Git is back. Welcome back, Gameless Git. Hopefully you can hear me this time. Hopefully we'll have a smoother stream and things won't get fakakta quite so quickly. I'm going to take a little break here. Let everybody catch up. Let this buffering happen. Okay. So, getting the computer stuff under control. Studio has been updated, moved to a new space, and updated for efficiency. The space is smaller, but the space is much better laid out. So, what I've done to this point is try to put together a configuration that works for all the possible things that we might do in the studio, which is more complicated than you might think. For those of you who have been following the podcast, part of what makes our podcast special is that when we record the podcast, we're all in the same room. We're not coming in virtually through Skype from a whole bunch of different places. We're all friends. We've been friends for a long time, and we're all in the room together when it's recorded, which I really think comes through in our style and in our content and the easy way in which we talk to one another, joke around, and give each other shit. So, as you can imagine, however, that causes some technical issues, right? I mean, we have to have enough gear and equipment in the studio and enough room for 3 people and their gear plus whatever else is needed to produce a podcast on streaming nights. So that setup changes depending on whether we're recording a podcast, whether we're live streaming, whether we're recording with a guest, or whether we're doing a 3-play, or whether I am recording solo content. Hey, look. It's Cal. Boom. So, in order to make that work, it gets to be somewhat complicated because depending on how many people are in the studio and whether or not we have a guest who needs to hear what we're saying, cameras are being repositioned, mics are being repositioned, gear is being moved all the time. So the goal was to really create a studio space that was going to allow us to do all of these different sort of configurations for audio recording with a minimal amount of effort. So we have done that. the studio has been set up in kind of a modular fashion, so we have network connections on either side of the room. We've got the camera in a position that's relatively stationary so that it doesn't have to move. We've got a table that can be easily moved forward and backward depending on whether or not we're recording game content or podcast content. So that's been a long time in the planning, diagramming to figure out how all that stuff works out. So I think what it's going to equate to is more efficient use of our studio time. So that is good. Getting the computer back, that is good. I wanted to talk a little bit about stats, because stats is something that I'm very excited about. For a long time, Couch Warrior TV was really stalled out at about 5,500 subscribers. And it was that way for a long time. I'm talking about, probably 6 to 8 months, where I was literally stalled out at about 5,400 to 5,600 subscribers and just could not get any forward movement. So recently, however, there has been a significant change in that. We've had a lot more subscribers coming in, huge increases in the number of subscribers, huge increases for me. This is coming from a guy who, traditionally has a lower subscriber number than a lot of YouTubers out there, but I'm also kind of a niche, a niche YouTuber, if you will. So recently, however, that has changed, and I have gotten to the point where I've been getting on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, anywhere between 15 and 25 new subscribers per day. And there have been a few spikes that have gone well beyond that. For me, that's amazing. And I think it appears that most of that has to do with the Rune Runner series that I started. That's kind of amazing when you consider the fact that I was really only able to make probably two episodes, I guess. 2 episodes and a teaser before my system gave out and I had to send it in for repair. And in the intervening time, I kind of expected subscribership to go down, but subscribership has gone up. So that is amazing. Minutes watched. It's crazy to think, 6 months ago, my minutes watched was probably at 250,000 minutes watched every 28 days. And now we're approaching 500,000, which is amazing. That's just terrific. So I want to thank all of you, new subscribers and old, who've really gotten into the Rune Runner concept. I'm very excited about it, and it's probably going to be one of the first things that I work on once I'm able to get up and running again, so that I can get you some more content in that area. So I just wanted to thank you all for your support. It's been amazing. And speaking of support, I wanted to thank all of you who are supporting us on Patreon. We really do appreciate that support. We desperately need it because it's the way that we are able to do things like live streaming. The Patreon donations that we get, plus the little bit that we get in YouTube ad royalties, all of that, every single penny of it goes into supporting the channel. It pays for the cost of our website. It pays for the recurring monthly expense we have for hosting all of those fat podcast files. It goes into paying for our Wirecast software for streaming. It goes into paying for the camera that you're seeing me through right now, as well as any additional cameras we're able to add later on. So anytime you guys help us out there, even if it's just $1 a month recurring, super helpful, and we appreciate it immensely. If you haven't contributed yet, consider doing so. If you can't contribute on a recurring basis, feel free to buy some gear in our store. We've got a sale coming up here. All the t-shirts and stuff are going to be 15% off for about a week coming up here. There's a banner on the website. If you go to charactercrusade.com, you can see that on there. It's a 15% discount. There's a coupon code if you're interested in a t-shirt or something like that. If you can't do that, go and tell a friend, or give us a rating on iTunes. Ratings on iTunes are huge. I know that a lot of you watching this channel update, of course, probably take in our content exclusively on YouTube, but there are a lot of people, an audience that's growing every day, that is listening to Character Crusade podcast exclusively through iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud and podcast outlets like that. So giving us a rating on iTunes, while you may not see the difference on YouTube, helps us immensely in those other channels, and it's free. Sign into iTunes. You can get to our iTunes page if you want to, right from the website, and just write a review. Give us a review, and that helps kind of bump us up the list as compared to other podcasts who have similar content, and it just helps us get in front of more people, which is always amazing. So a quick announcement. We are normally scheduled to record our next podcast this coming Monday, but we've had to change the schedule because of a few schedule conflicts. So the next podcast live stream for episode 32 of the podcast will be on Thursday, June 23rd at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're interested in tuning into the live stream, feel free to do that. It's going to be a riot. We are going to be recording a podcast live with Voices from the Dark. Also joining us in the studio will be Jessa from the Jessa channel. So we are going to have a full house that night. I can't tell you what we are going to have in terms of camera footage. We do not yet meet the technical requirements to be able to get Voices from the Dark through Skype into our live stream. We can do the audio piece of that, but we just can't do the video. And that's what I say when I'm saying, having people support the Patreon campaign gets us a step closer to being able to afford some of the software we need, like Pamela and stuff like that, to convert a Skype feed into a camera we can essentially embed in a live stream. So, but that is going to be a blast. If you can join us on the live stream, that would be great. Otherwise, we're going to put this out as a podcast on the website on Friday the 24th. So there's going to be a lot of work going on overnight between the 23rd and the 24th. So that'll be great. If you're not familiar with Voices from the Dark, go and check out his YouTube channel. Tons and tons of great content. Jessa, of course, anybody who's tuned into our podcast knows Jessa as well. So that brings me to a Rune Runner update, and for this update, I have brought in Vander. He's going to take care of his own update today. Hey, everybody. It's me, Vander. Hey, I just wanted to give you a quick missive. So, Couch Warrior's having some problems with his PC. Yeah, if you watched his channel update, he said something about it. But you know what? He sent it in, and he says that it's fixed, and now he's waiting for it to come back. Now, the cool thing is that in the meantime, he's rebuilt the studio, and he's planned some other things. He's written up a full written character build for Mortal Blade. Some amazing things happen when you take away his computer. Anyways, so he's supposed to have it back next Tuesday, and then there's going to be some planning, and there's going to be some time taken, and then there's going to be some videos made. And, excuse me, I drank too much milk, and I got this, film in my mouth. Hey, what's this? Oh, cool. So, anyways, what he tells me is that he's going to start making some videos, major ones. So it's going to be more Vander, that's me, and also probably some Miko, that's the dog. And then, who knows where we're going to go? We're going to go from Dawnstar to someplace. I'm supposed to go to the Nightgate Inn, and I still have to find this Relvy guy. I don't know where he is, but, I hope you're coming along for the ride. I mean, I hope you've enjoyed what we've done so far, because according to Couch Warrior statistics, he tells me that my playlist has been the most watched playlist that he's ever created since Aranus Arcana. And that's saying something, because, Fleet was a little bit of a hero of mine as well, and I sort of look up to him, although I'm not really an assassin type of guy, I guess, but, it's flattering nonetheless. So I want to thank you all for being so patient. Couch Warrior appreciates it. I appreciate it. Miko appreciates it. And we will see you soon for some running, some pie, some adventure, and all that good stuff. Was that super cheesy or what? I figured it was probably more fun for Vander to do his own updates. So let's talk about some projects that we've got coming up here. And for those of you who enjoy the more sort of philosophical side of Character Crusade and what we do here with regard to role play concepts, ideas, philosophies, things like that, we've got some interesting things coming up. The first thing that I want to talk about is a concept in development right now for Character Crusade that we're calling the LIV RP Framework. And one of the things that has become apparent over the last year is that there are a lot of role-play quandaries out there, and that a lot of those have to do with how to role-play other games that are less flexible than Skyrim. So sometimes when we talk about Skyrim, we complain a little bit about how it's difficult to influence the environment. Like sometimes the quests and stuff are disconnected, so that even though you complete one quest and you maybe slay Alduin, you still are a whelp when it comes to the companions, if you haven't done that yet, right? So one of the things that we talk about frequently on the show is how we can get around this in Skyrim by using the flexibility, the openness of Skyrim to kind of fill in those seams between quests ourselves with our own stories. Well, that's the beauty of Skyrim. It is open enough that we can do this kind of stuff. However, there are a lot of other game platforms where you can influence the story more, right? Influence the story in terms of things that you do at the beginning of the story affect the outcome of the story more. But most often, those games are put together in such a way that you're going through the story in a very scripted or prescribed succession. It can be very linear, and you are losing control in other areas. So a year ago, actually way longer than a year ago, when we first launched the CharacterCrusade.com website, the very first post I ever put in the blog was about this concept that we could use. It was a 3-point model that we could use to evaluate to evaluate whether or not a game was going to be good for role play and where its role play strengths and weaknesses were. And it's a simple 3-point model. Well, what we've done is we've adjusted that, and we're taking that model and we're expanding it. We're blowing it out into a framework that we can use to evaluate games and provide suggestions, tips, and resource material that a person could use to play another game, a game other than Skyrim, and have kind of immersive role play experience. So we're calling this the LIV RP Framework, LIV. And LIV stands for Location, Individuality, and Volition. And essentially, what we're doing is we're evaluating a game on each of these 3 categories. So if we were to look at this model a bit more closely, what we're saying basically is, what is your capacity to travel to any location that you want? What is your capacity to travel to any location that you want to? Rated on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being low choice or flexibility, and 5 being high. So if I would say a game like Skyrim probably has a location score of 5, because you can literally just pick up and go anywhere you want, whenever you want. There's really no restrictions. Okay. The next one is individuality. What is your capacity to customize your character, make them look like you want them to look? This is kind of the aesthetic thing, whether it's clothing, whether it's characteristics, facial features, height and weight, stuff like that. So Skyrim, you could probably score a 5 in this category as well, because we have the ability to do a lot of different things to make our characters look like we want them to look. And that score is further enhanced by using mods. So if you use things like race menu, you can make even more significant changes in the way that your character looks, creating that really pure sense of individuality, right? The last one is volition, and really what this means is free will. What are your options when it comes to free will? Can you engage in any quest that you want to? Can you do those quests in any order that you want to? Do you have dialogue options inside a quest that allow you to complete that quest in any way that you want, or in a way that fits the personality of your character, right? So location, individuality, and volition gives us LIV, or the LIV RP framework. So what we're going to do is we're going to flesh out this framework, and then we're going to provide a way for our users to take a game that they've played before, for example, like Mass Effect, give it a live score, and then post that live score on our website along with any notes that they have regarding how they role-played that. And really what this model does is it allows you to very quickly and easily look at the live score and look at the shape of the triangle for the game it is you're thinking about playing, and read the comments of other people in the community and determine very quickly where it's weak and where it's strong from a role play perspective. So if you've never played the game before but want to have a role play experience, you can look at some outside methods then that you can use to shore the game up from a role play perspective in those areas where it's weak. So along with those scores, what we're going to do is provide as comprehensive a list as we can of ideas that a person could use to enhance roleplay in a game that really isn't necessarily designed with roleplay, the kind of roleplay we talk about here at Character Crusade, in mind. So this is something that we're working on and hope to launch very soon. Along with it is going to come, I think, many interesting discussions in the podcast, because while we are almost entirely focused on Skyrim and Elder Scrolls, this will allow us to insert some snippets where we can talk very specifically about other games that we are attempting to apply the LIV framework to see how that goes. And it's also the concept of LIV is kind of a nod to what we started way back when at the beginning of this channel with Aranis Arcana, this whole concept of let's live Skyrim. Let's not play it, let's live it, right? And so our goal is to really go out and live these other games. So the LIV framework is going to allow us to do things like, let's live Mass Effect, let's live Witcher, let's live Fallout, and let's take a look at what are the things that these games do well, and what are the things that they don't do well, and what are the pieces we can put in place outside the game to make them more interesting, more engaging, and more of a fun role-play experience. So there's going to be a lot more information coming out about this. It's going to mean that we'll also have some new Let's Live kind of mini-series content on different games on the channel and stuff like that, and we'll be having little snippets of conversation about these things in the podcast as well. So we're all very excited about that, but there's a lot of work yet to be done to kind of flesh the whole thing out. So the next thing I want to talk about is 3-play. So as part of the Mortal Blade series, we had 2 episodes in Mortal Blade that were 3 plays. And by 3 plays, basically what it is imagine, if you will, a Let's Play that has 3 commentators instead of just 1. This was super fun. Joe, Matt, and I did this on 2 occasions. We worked out the technical details, and it was great. We are planning to do this again. However, now that Mortal Blade is coming to a close with only 2 episodes left, we are starting a brand new series called the 3-Play series, which is going to be a character created from scratch by the 3 of us, played by the 3 of us, and we will be recording content for that every couple of weeks. So that should be fairly exciting. I think our first recording session for that is going to be next week, and it's going to feature a new character. This is a new character that we developed a background for randomly in episode 31 of the podcast using Rory's story cubes. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. We used these story cubes, which are basically 6-sided dice. We had 9 of them. We rolled them, and based on the pictures on the dice, came up with the character's backstory. Now, Joe and I have put some work in since then to really flesh out the concept, and some amazing things are happening. This is going to be a very unusual playthrough, and it's going to be heightened by the fact that there are going to be some very significant aspects of this character that are a complete mystery to everybody involved, including us, because there are certain rules we've put in place on the 3-play that will have us determining direction in terms of, direction of travel, quests pursued, things like that. Those things determined randomly or by serendipity, which will be very interesting to see what happens, because it means that the 3 of us will go into each session not being sure what's going to happen either. So that'll be very cool. Now, those are not going to be released as live streams. Those will be released as recorded episodes, and they will have their own playlist and so forth. You'll see them pop up if you're subscribed to Couch Warrior TV. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about Fireside Stories. There has not been a Fireside Stories release for a couple of weeks. We are off a week, but that's because Joe and Matt have been working very hard to produce a series for Fireside Stories. A couple of months ago, Joe participated in an event called Camp NaNoWriMo, and basically what that was is he set a goal for himself for a number of words that he wanted to write in the month of April. So he wanted to start something new. He set a goal for himself. I think it was 15 or 16,000 words in April. And he sat down and he wrote this wonderful story. And it's now being converted into essentially what I would call an audio drama, if you will. Matt is doing the readings for this, and they include kind of a dramatic reading with different character voices, as well as music and some sound effects and different things like that. And it is long enough that we will be breaking it up into a series of 3 separate chapters, each one probably 20 to 30 minutes in length. So it's a significant amount of content, and it is some of the best writing that Joe has done to date. It's wonderful and very creative, and it is set in the world of Skyrim, and has some really wonderful and interesting ties into 5 Fables, and also into our House of Troubles mod that you can find on Nexus. It's very intriguing. He has created an entire backstory and in a series of lore entries having to do with the origin of the House of Troubles. So you can look forward to that coming up. I think the first chapter is going to be coming up very soon. I just listened to a rough draft of it today, and it was wonderful to hear. The writing is wonderful, and Matt's performance is just great. With every reading like this he does, he's getting better and better, and it's pretty amazing. So that is it for this update. Again, if you want to tune into the live stream, make sure you do that. That's going to be next week, Thursday the 23rd, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you tune in, it's going to be Voices from the Dark. It's going to be Couch Warrior. It's going to be Joe. It's going to be Matt. It's going to be Jessa. And if we have time, we will try to open things up for Q&A. So if you've got some questions, bring them along, and we will pose those questions of our guests or to us. So that is it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments down below, and I will try to get to them in the next update. Thank you very much.